Welcome to Wine and Wingspan, a weekly podcast where your new book besties, Jess and Jo, review their favorite and least favorite reads over a bottle of the good stuff.
We're here to have a good time and certainly don't want to ruin yours, so please check the title and trigger warnings so nothing is spoiled.
You may find that your opinion differs from ours, and we want to hear about it. So follow us on social media and let your voice be heard in our comments. Without further ado, cheers!
Anything, and then I move it all around.
You're
again.
like just moving things in a circle, and then it all goes back to the first place you had.
That's basically what being a human is. You just move things around until you die. You're born, you move stuff around, and you die. And with that, welcome to Wine and Wingspan, everybody. We are a weekly podcast where we come on here and talk about wingspan, and sometimes we drink wine. I'm drinking water because I'm at the end of my sanity. I've had a very busy couple weeks, so apologies in the delay in episodes, but life's been a little crazy for us, so bear with us, all right? Or else. Actually, you don't have to. We run the podcast. You don't have to like it, okay? We're in charge.
I just do whatever Joe tells me.
I'm in charge. I'm the captain.
I'm the captain now.
So, exciting things to talk about. I started a new job, and I'm very tired, and it's really awesome, but I am exhausted. So, there's been a little bit of a lack of social media and things, both on my personal and on the podcast. But we're going to get back into it. Jess is our queen. She is the queen of the Instagram and TikTok henceforth.
I don't really know what I'm doing though, so I'm sorry for all the shitty content. You'll know when Joe posts something.
So be nice to her or else. But
I'm over here trying to use CapCut like an old boomer lady. And God, line up how I want you to. I just want to cry by the end of it. Every single thing I make, it ends with me saying, close enough.
It's good enough. This is good enough.
They'll get what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I also want to quickly apologize. As I was editing the first part of ACOTAR, I had to listen to my sick voice. And it was horrifying. And so I deeply apologize to our listeners for having to listen to me fight for my life through that sinus infection for an entire episode. But we had some good takes. Last episode made it all the way through Feyre going back to the human lands from the Spring Court. And so now Feyre is back home with Daddy and Nesta and Elaine. And some interesting stuff happens, but we're hoping to make it all the way through the end of ACOTAR tonight. So without further ado, ACOTAR Part 2. And we were laughing before we started recording, trying to figure out, where we should start in the story. And, Feyre, as soon as she gets back, Tamlin has sent her back with this, trunk full of jewels, which feels, so medieval to me that he's like, take this trunk of jewels. And then she, shows up, and they already have a fortune anyway. So that's cool. And then her dad's kind of on the mend. He's taking this salve. It's making him better. And Feyre is having her Robin Hood moment where she goes out and is handing out bags of gold. She's taking from the rich and giving to the poor. And it's just one of the funniest to me side missions that Feyre completes in this book is she's I'm actually gonna go hand out everything I've gotten. I'm finally out of squalor after struggling so hard. I'm gonna go give it all away immediately. So she does that, and we're getting to.
Doesn't she run into her ex-boyfriend, her ex-friend thing on it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I couldn't remember if this was it. And then she's like, "Oh, hey, here's your new bitch. Here's some coins. Bye."
Yeah, literally. Weird. And we're getting to one of my favorite, absolutely unhinged things that Feyre does. It circles back to the beginning of one of the most out-of-pocket moments that Feyre has in the entire series of mentioning Claire Better. to Rhysand. She could have made up a fake name, and she's like, no, someone that I know, I'm going to give that name. So while she's in the village, like, giving out the money, she overhears Thomas Mandray, and he's like, yeah, this house burned down with everybody inside, which is crazy. And she's like, damn, that sucks. So then her dad is like, yeah, okay, this is wild. This house burns down, family trapped inside. The Archerons have had fortune back after 10 years of being destitute. So you would think like their empathy meter would be a little bit higher than this. No. Feyre's dad is like, man, can't wait for that lot to come for sale. I'm gonna buy it immediately. Like, they just died. And he's like, cannot wait to buy that property. That is gonna be a perfect addition. We're gonna put a little pool there. It's wild to me. So during this time too, we have a little Nesta moment. This is really interesting, and we can talk about some Massiverse theories. Spoilers alert. Nesta admits to Feyre that the glamour didn't work on her, and that she walked for 2 days to find the wall, and she just couldn't find it. Or she couldn't get through it. So she could see the wall, she found the wall, and she saw through a High Lord's glamour. Glamoring them that Feyre was actually away with an aunt. That is sketchy.
I feel like I blew through that the first time.
Yeah.
I feel like the first time I read that, I was like, meh, whatever. She's got to go back to him. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I was so concerned over here that Sarah's like, oh, here's a little something, which she does to us constantly. All the
and
time,
you know who takes her to the wall? The mercenary.
Yeah.
The mercenary from the beginning of the story. She treks for 2 days to find it, and then she goes to the mercenary in the village and is like, help me. Isn't that crazy? Especially when you think about
weird.
The theories that Nesta is a Kraken witch. That is crazy. Because there are a lot of theories that the mercenary from the beginning of the story is potentially a member of the 13. If that's the case, that's wild to me. And it would make sense of how a witch or fae of some kind, shifter fae or something, would be able to get through the wall in the first place. And would be going back and forth. Like, it's hard to imagine that even a mercenary is able to get in and out without some level of supernatural powers, when, like, Feyre is, like, a pretty good, like, huntress and fighter, and she, like, is barely making it, by herself. So, just interesting. Nesta also says some interesting stuff about her dad. Nesta is like, you allowed our mother to die, and you could have gone to the Fae for a cure, but you didn't. Like, what?
What?
Whenever she literally is like...
Is it because she knows her dad's getting that salve from the Fae now? Or is it because she has previous experience with a Fae?
I don't know.
Or maybe her mom told her something, because Nesta and her mom are the closest.
Yeah, I don't know. Exactly.
It's not a podcast
the
unless
balloons,
there's balloons.
The balloons said it all, frankly. And that's whenever Nesta's like, your High Lord would go to the ends of the earth for you, wouldn't he? And Feyre's like, yep. And then he proceeds to literally not do a single thing for Feyre.
Honestly, the roller coaster that put me on the first time, I was like, he really just goes stand there? And then I was like waiting. I was like, okay, he's playing it cool. Okay, so she gets to the cell. He's going to show up.
No.
He's going to show up. And then literally, like, Rhys shows up 10 times. Lucian shows up. Lucian's mom shows up. Some maids show up. I kept waiting for it the entire time for him to show up.
No. He would not. Nesta, actually, Feyre lied to you. He would, in fact, not go to the ends of the earth for you.
He wouldn't even go to the basement.
Again, this is the second time, too. Like, right after this whole thing happened. So then Papa Archeron's like, I want to buy that. I'm gonna buy the dead family's land. And Feyre is like, wait, whose land? And he's like, Claire Betteridge. She's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I fucked up so bad. Oh no. And then she's like, well, better go clean up this mess. So she's like, I'm gonna go to Prythian, Nesta, just hang out here. And for the second time, a member of Feyre's family is like, do not come back. Her dad tells her not to come back, and Nesta tells her not to come back. Nesta's like, leave, don't come back. We're Gucci here, okay? So she gets to the spring court. Place is trashed. Get used to it, because that's just how the spring court is now. Place is trashed, and Alice is still there somehow. And she's like, I know. That. And then we pretty much don't really have very much of Alice for the rest of the series. Like a little bit, but not really. And so then, this is why, actually. Because Sarah has to info dump the entire backstory of lore onto Feyre. So this is where...
that Feyre trusts, too.
Yeah. So this is where we get the High Queen of Prythian. And that Amarantha is the High Queen, and that she had a sister named Clythia who fell in love with Jurian, and Clythia didn't realize that Jurian did not actually love her at all, and Jurian's a tricky little trickster, as we know. He is very tricky. And so Jurian and Clythia, like, had this confrontation. Jurian kills Clythia. And Amarantha has this confrontation with Jurian and Amarantha kills Jurian and has his eye and his finger bone. So then Amarantha makes this treaty with the humans, and you can't have slaves anymore. So she's like, bet. So she kills all of them. This is how awful she is. She could let them go, and nobody would be like, can't believe you had slaves. No, she's like, I'd rather them be dead than let them go. So she kills them. And then she, like, slowly just takes over Prythian and becomes queen. And the High Lords hosted this ball. And Amarantha, like, stole their powers at, like, this masquerade ball thing. So that is why Tamlin and all of them have the masks. And that's the Blight. The Blight is Amarantha, which, again, in the last episode we talked about the Asteri and how they are basically parasites. If you want to believe that Amarantha is Volg, I mean, it's giving parasite. It's that she is the Blight. And so that is the story. They have a second masquerade ball. That's when they get, regardless, a ball happens. 2 balls happen. There's 2 balls. Hard to believe. And Amarantha traps them all in their masks, which is honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, Sarah, it's kind of stupid. But she captures them all in their masks, and Alice is like, all right, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So she leaves. Alice takes her to, like, the spring court, and the tunnel in the spring court, where she's, like, going to be able to go to under the mountain. And she's like, don't trust anybody, not even Tamlin. Don't make fae deals. Don't drink the wine. To be clear, Feyre immediately does all 3 of those things right off the bat. She's like, thank you so much for the advice, Alice, someone who has been my source of information throughout this book. I am not going to take any of that advice. Have a great day. And that's what she does. Also, to be clear, this is what she takes with her. List of weapons. A bow, some arrows, and 2 daggers.
Perfect. That's all she needs. MacGyver.
That's all she needs. Yeah, she's really resourceful. Big thinker. So she's like, all right, time to go into the tunnel. So
funny part is the adder doesn't even take away her weapons when he takes her in, like, under the mountain.
Not because she's pathetic. He's like, aw, those are cute. Aw. That's so cute. Little cutie pie. So she like goes into this tunnel and goes down. The adder finds her there. Yeah, takes her in. And then this again, Claire Better's there. So Claire Better didn't die in the fire. No. She's literally like hanging from the wall, dead. And Tamlin's like, I don't know this bitch. I don't know who this is. And Amarantha's like, I am not stupid. Just so we're clear. So, remember Alice is like, don't make Fae deals. Amarantha's like, I'm going to cut you a deal. You do 3 things for me, and then you can have Tamlin, and you all get to be free. And Feyre's like, that sounds fair. So, she says that. And Amarantha agrees. She thinks she's clever. She's like, well, only if Tamlin and all of his court leave there and remain free forever. That's not even a good deal. Like, why wouldn't you bargain the whole world and make sure that they could have their power back?
Because she's dumb.
She's so stupid. God, I love Feyre, but she is dumb as bricks. So Amarantha's like, that's actually a great deal for me because I don't really care about this one court. I haven't had them for all this time. Like, who gives a shit? So she also was like, but you know what? I'm feeling generous, and also Tamlin told me you can't read. So I'm going to give you a riddle. Now, right now, I want everyone listening to go to the comments and tell us if you figured out the riddle or not. I want to know.
I
did not figure out the riddle. I figured out the riddle, and then for the last 100 pages of this book, I beat it against my head and screamed, Feyre, God damn it, the answer is love. How do you not know that the answer is love?
I think I just didn't care. Like, I was reading it, like, because I knew, obviously, okay, she gave her a riddle, and I still got, like, this much left of the book. She's not going to figure it out right away. So I'm like, I'm not even going to bother thinking that hard about it. But I'm not good at riddles anyways. I'm not a riddle person.
Listen. So
they used to do those riddles in middle school, and I'm like, I felt like the dumbest kid in class. I'm like, I don't know.
You and Feyre, hey, you're in good company. You're
at least I can read.
Yeah, you can mostly. So
sometimes,
basically, Feyre immediately gets the absolute shite beat out of her. Amarantha is like, she's like, I'm going to complete this 3 tasks. She thinks it's going to take her like 5 minutes. Amarantha's like, yeah, no prob. You get to do 1 a month.
Yeah.
What? So she beats the ever-loving crap out of Feyre. Lucian comes down and is like, I told you, we all gave you very simple instructions, which was to not come back. But you did anyway. So he like heals her nose because she's got a broken nose, and all the High Lords are there, and they're not allowed to leave until Feyre finishes. So Amarantha is making an example out of Feyre. Like, this is, in her opinion, basically some High Lord's like concubine, essentially, like human whore, and she's here to help this High Lord. So she's like, I'm gonna make an example for all the other High Lords that if you try to bring your little human wenches up under this mountain, I am gonna kill them so fast. So Lucian tells her the final piece of the puzzle, which is like why, like, that Amarantha is very cruel, if you couldn't tell already, and that she basically ripped Jurian apart piece by piece. And so
Shit.
That's great. Amarantha also doesn't know Feyre's name. That's the other thing that's like weird.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I never noticed that.
And then so she's like, "Tell me your name."
Oh, she keeps calling her human.
Yeah, and then so then this is the messed up part. So then she brings out Lucian, and she's like, "Resand, come torture this little fox boy." And she's like, "Fine, my name's Feyre," and that's all it takes. And Resand also is like, I didn't realize, they look all the humans look alike to me, because, she's like, this, you got me the wrong girl. And Rhys is like, but Feyre's like, I think I know that you're protecting me. And I don't know why. And it's like, how did she not see? How did she not see? So I am going to read the riddle. And we're gonna listen for little Easter eggs. There are those who seek me a lifetime, but never we meet. Those I kiss, but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. At times I seem to favor the clever and fair, but I bless all those brave enough to dare. By large my ministrations are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned I become a difficult beast to defeat. Through each of my strikes lands a powerful blow. When I kill slow. I also think it's interesting in her riddle, she has the 3 trials. Clever, being clever and brave, which is the second trial with Lucian. A difficult beast to defeat, which is the Minigard worm. And then the strikes to kill, which is the third trial with killing the Fae.
Interesting. I never noticed that before.
Yeah, so regardless, she completes the riddle because she completes all 3 tasks. And she kissed Tamlin, kissed her, and she kissed Tamlin, but in a way, Amarantha would probably see her as being ungrateful to Tamlin. But
do you believe the whole theory that Amarantha and Tamlin were mates? But
I think it's a potential possibility.
Yeah.
It would make sense as to why she is so dead set on him being her left hand, right hand man, sitting beside her on this throne.
Rhys is more powerful, so why Tamlin?
I mean, she has...
Unless Rhys came too willingly, and if she was like,
yeah,
like she wanted to chase at someone.
Yeah, I think Tamlin is giving, I'm rejecting my mating bond energy, but then the only thing I could see is he's like, no, the mating bond will click into place. It will. In the second book, so I don't think if Amarantha was his mate, I don't think he knows that. And I like the theory that that Tamlin was mates with Rhysand's sister, but I don't think if he was that he knew. And I also think after the CC3 reveal that Azriel was probably potentially mates, or at least lovers, with Rhysand's sister after his
I want that. I'm down for that.
I want that so bad. So that is up until our first trial. So this
insert SpongeBob worm.
The Alaskan bullworm. So Amarantha is like, all right, look at all these trenches. And Feyre's like, ooh, that's nasty. And she's looking over the edge, and the adder pushes her into it. And Amarantha's like, all right, have fun. And releases a giant worm. Now, it's not a worm, W-O-R-M. It is a worm, W-Y-R-M, which is basically a dragon with no legs or wings. However, imagining it as a giant worm, like W-O-R-M, is much more fun than imagining it as a limbless dragon. Gotta say. So she's running around in poo-poo. Poo-poo doo-doo.
Yeah.
And this thing's nasty. And so she rolls in the poo-poo. And she's like, if it can't smell me, it can't see me. And she finds a bunch of bones, and she's she's laying her trap. She's a huntress. She's like, I'm gonna lay my little trap for this worm. And Rhysand's like, look. Rhysand's like, look at her. She is so smart.
Bae.
He's like, she's building a trap because she's a genius. Not really. I mean, we know she's not, but Rhysand is, stars in his eyes. So it says that she covers herself in mud, but I just fully believe that it's doo-doo. She is covered in worm doo-doo. So the worm is chasing her around, and she leads it right to the den, and it dies. And that's all great and everything. But she like hurts herself in the process. And she's got like a piece of the bone. Like she's killed the worm, but she's also hurt herself like pretty severely. And she's caked and covered in duty and who knows what else. Nasty worm things. And Reese, okay, so then Reese is like the only one that bets on her. Isn't that so sweet? But he really did not.
I thought it was really cute.
He did not cover his tracks at all with that, did he?
I don't think he gave a fuck though. Like, I think now he can really. He's been able to get away with shit for so long that he's like, I'll bet on it.
And if I die, I die. So she goes
because he had given up. He talks about that later, like how much he had given up until that worm moment, and then he was like, "Oh shit, yeah."
Oh yeah, because she throws it like a javelin at Amarantha.
Yeah, at Amarantha. Yeah. And then that's when he was like, "Oh my god!" Blah 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 blah. He says his whole spiel, which I'm like trying not to talk about until we get to Akamath, but it does reignite something in him that was probably dead.
Yeah, Feyre really is like in another thing and like throws that javelin as hard as she can.
She's like, Tamlin, my Tamlin. Fuck you. He sucks. Don't worry about that.
Every time in this book. Every time she's like,
such an asshole.
She's like, I love him. I want him to be safe and free. I'm like, shut up, Feyre.
He's literally a High Lord with magical powers, and you're over there throwing bones at people. Like, what?
Ugh. So
you should have put 2 daggers. What do you think was gonna like? What were you going to do? What?
Literally.
What was your plan, Feyre?
So she goes back to her cell, and she's bleeding. She's dying because she's got that bone embedded in her arm, and no one has come to see her. Like Lucian doesn't come help her. It's bad. So Rhysand shows up, and here we go. Rhysand is like, I can heal you. However, in exchange for 2 weeks out of every month, you have to come live with me in the Night Court. And she's like, hell no. However, I am dying, so you might be my only chance. And he's like, come on, do it. And this is actually this is the morally gray Rhysand that I wish we saw in the rest of the series. She's like, no. So he grabs her arm and twists it. He's like, oh, what about this? And like breaks her arm. She's like, okay, well, what about one? And he's like, all right. And then she passes out. When she wakes up, her arm's healed, and she's got the tattoo on her hand. Ah! It's so good.
Now, my thing is, so she gets the eyeball tattoo. Can everyone see it, or did he glamour that? I've never known. When she turns high fae, everyone sees it, because then book 2, he's like, we'll get that taken care of.
No, he can, but everybody can see it because Tamlin is horrified when he sees it.
Is he? Okay. I couldn't remember.
He's so upset.
But it's weird to me that Amarantha isn't asking questions at that point.
Does she?
Or maybe she don't give a fuck, maybe. Or she probably knew exactly, like, her arm was healed. She's like, okay, so I know what it is. Does she ask?
Yeah, Amarantha is like, what did you do, Rhysand? And he's like, well, now she has to come with me. And gives her the wine. That happens in the next chapter. So everybody sees it, yeah. This is one of my favorite parts, actually. So she's like, they give her the dirty water so she can clean the floor. And Lady Autumn comes in and is like, thank you for saving Lucian. And she cleans the floor for Feyre, which is like, she's not going to get her, her ass beat. And then another favorite part of my, like, Feyre's tedious tasks and her side quest in the basement of the mountain, she Rhysand, she goes to Rhysand's room and they spill the lentils in the fireplace and she has to pull all the lentils out of the fireplace.
Yeah.
And so Rhysand has the opportunity to talk to her more. And he like is showing himself like wings, and he says he prefers wings and talons, which is interesting.
He said, this is... I forget sometimes the little details are so funny. She's like, they said I had to clean out the lentils from the ashes or you'd rip my skin off. And he's like, did they now? A feline smile. And it goes like back to what you were saying. Like, we miss these parts of Rhysand through the rest of the series. Oh.
Yeah, I miss it. Once they like reveal that they're mates, he kind of becomes mid. But this like Rhys where he's like, oh really? Like, it's like the Hewn City Rhys that I just love. Yeah. And he reveals that there's like Rhys's this is Rhys like reveals that he has like a High Lord form. I wish we got to see his High Lord form more in the series because I just love it. But she's like, can you tell me the answer to the riddle? And he's like, no, we can't. But yeah, Rhysand like saves her from having to do the tasks and stuff. So then Noelle and Sarah Dwin show up and they paint her with the body paints, and they put her in like the teeny little dress. And Rhysand is like, you have to go to a party with me, and she's like, I hate that I'm so sexy right now. And Rhysand's like, well, now if anyone touches you, because you belong to me now, which then now I'll know because you belong to me, you're my property, which is very hot. And he takes her to this party, and Amarantha sees a tattoo like we said and is like, what the hell? And Rhys is like playing it off like, I'm just so bad. I'm just bad, and I just want to have her because then Tamlin can't have her, and I'm mean. So he gives her the wine, and she doesn't remember anything. And the whole time, Rhysand has been touching on Feyre, and Tamlin's mad, and Feyre is dancing for Rhysand and sitting in Rhysand's lap, but she doesn't remember it. She doesn't remember it because he drugs her, which is in real life would be an insane red flag, but in this book is very hot. So, then sad time. Amarantha has that summer court fairy, and sadly, Rhysand has to like shatter his mind. And instead Rhys kills him, and Amarantha's like, why? I wanted you to shatter his mind, and everybody's
he does it too quickly or whatever. She's pissy about that,
and everyone is like being mean to him and like, you're a whore, and you're like, stop, don't talk about him like that.
I will say her time with Rhys is really interesting under the mountain. I think we gloss over it when we first read it because we're only worried about what the fuck Tamlin's doing, but like whenever they do the lentil transaction, she's having to do all these dumb chores, he takes the fairies and like tells them, if you try to tell her what to do or you go into her cell, you need to stab yourself. And so like he's kind of, I feel that as a protection. Rhys does not have to do that. And then he brings her out of her cell with the fairy wine. I think he did it to give her an escape. And probably to piss off Tamlin makes him happy too. But I think a big driving factor was to give her relief. Yeah. Maybe mental relief even.
This is why, though,
And I think he did the paints because he wanted to know if other people were touching her. Not in a sexual... We took it all as a sexual way, but as a protection way. Yeah. I need to know if other people are touching you. This is to protect you.
This is why this behavior, I understand that she's his mate, but he doesn't know that at this point. Like, the mating bond hasn't clicked into place.
Yeah.
This is why his behavior in CC3 is so weird to me, because he is so aggressive with Bryce. And he would... Feyre it's an even worse situation than Bryce. Just is like kind of suspicious. Feyre is outright causing problems, and he is like, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to help you.
And it might be because the bond hasn't come into place yet, but there's still like a primal underlining. Like, this is my mate. I don't know.
But it's just like, I don't know. It's just like the Rhysand from ACOTAR is just so different by the end of the story. It's not as bad as Rowan, where by the end of Throne of Glass, Rowan has zero personality. But it's pretty bad where, like, he's so easily manipulated by CC3. Like, Amren is playing him like a fiddle in that dungeon
Are you sure it's not Tamlin playing him like a fiddle?
Dance for me, Rhysand. So...
Second task.
Again, we're getting tossed in a pit. And my baby boy, Lucien, he's in trouble. So...
That poor guy.
This is the funniest bit ever, is that Feyre is illiterate. And the whole second thing is that she has to read. And... yeah. It's pretty crazy. So
when I read this and it was like a lengthy inscription was carved into it, I was like, oh no, Sarah did. You know, Sarah was chuckling the entire time she wrote this scene. She's like, God, Feyre's so stupid.
And you just know that Lucien is like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. So Rhysand helps her. Rhysand, when she goes to pull the lever, he is like hurting her.
Yeah, so she's like, through the palm.
Yeah, she's like, ouch, ouch. And then she goes to the third one and she's like, okay, that one. So then she wins the trial. And Rhys is like,
her justifying picking one though. She's like, 2 was a lucky number because it's like Tamlin and me. 1 is like Amarantha and she's evil by herself. I'm like, what the fuck? What do
we expect?
Sarah.
She can't read see dog run. Okay, so this is the kind of logic that we're dealing with. So
it was so funny. I was reading that part and I was like, I don't feel like I would have ever justified any of that like that in my brain.
Oh, I forgot about what the next part that happens. So then Rhys is like, don't cry. Look, stare her down. And then she goes back to her cell and starts crying. And then Rhys shows up and licks the tears off her
out of pocket
face.
Out of pocket. What? Oh, he says good girl to her. Don't forget that. After he tells her everything to do. And he's like, count to 10, don't look at Tamlin, stare her down. And he's like, good girl, now walk away. I would have been like,
and then
Tamlin who? You can keep him, Amarantha. I'm going to go.
And then he's like, good soup. And licks them off of her face. It's just so crazy.
Why? I don't get it.
I think maybe just to get her riled up, because then, you know, if she's mad, then she can't be upset, you know. So then, but it's like licking her face. Can you imagine your partner, like your husband, walking up to him and licking the tears off his cheek? That is bizarre behavior. So
I wonder if Sarah was like to her husband, hey, come here, do me a favor, lick a tear off my face. What does it look like? What is it? Just do it real quick. I just need to know so I can write the scene. And he's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, for real.
Lick a tear off real quick. Hang on.
I just need to know how it feels to have my cheek licked. So Nuala and Saradwin they're with Feyre in the hallway, and they all of a sudden like hide. And the Adder is like, hey, I need you to get your forces? Like, are you going to be able to contribute forces? And the adder's like, I mean, we'll do what we're told. And the voice is like, the King of Hybern is real mad. I don't know that we ever figure out who that voice is.
I don't think so either.
I'm assuming a general of some kind. But she basically, the King of Hybern is pissed at Amarantha because Amarantha made this deal with Feyre, and he's like, why are we playing around, you know? So Feyre goes back to her cell, and this is when we hear the music. And she's like, wow, there's music. It's so beautiful and moving. And I want to cry about it. And that's the music that then, you know, we hear. It's like kind of random to me that Rhys chooses that moment to send it to her. But, yeah. So then, fast forward, Feyre's at another party again, naked, painted, and here we go.
On Rhys's lap.
This is
not on Rhys's lap.
No, she's on a corner by herself. Most annoying part of the book. No one's paying attention to Feyre. No one. Rhys's not paying attention to her. No one. She could escape. And Tamlin chooses this moment. No one's paying attention to Tamlin either. And he's like, I could help her escape, or I could bone her. Maybe. I could do that. So Rhysand comes in and is like, dude, are you fucking kidding me, bro? So Tamlin puts his clothes back on, and Rhysand's like, What is
it that he says when he busts in there? Doesn't he say something really funny about being caught? Or what is it? Hang on. What does he say? Because he opens the door. Oh, he coughs. Instead of Rhys being like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, that's how I imagine him be like, shameful. Just so calm and so piece of shit. And you know he was so excited to be like, you fucking dumbass.
Literally.
And then he says, look at what you've done to my pet. I mean, I thought Tamlin was hot, but yeah.
So,
Anne.
yeah, Rhys is like, get out of here. Tamlin leaves, presumably goes and gets Amarantha. And then Rhysand is like, crap, and he kisses Feyre.
Rhys is such an asshole. I love it.
And so then Amarantha finds them kissing, and Rhys is like, get back to your cell. He's like really good at throwing Amarantha off his trail, because she never catches on.
No.
Really. So, Rhys comes to her chamber, or her cell, and he admits to Feyre that he is basically being like a prostitute in a way. Like, he's like a harlot. And that he has to, like, service Amarantha. And,
that's so fucking sad. I feel like that always gets glossed over when people do the first read.
And so then Tamlin, he's like, I know that if Tamlin, this is like back, it's also sad because you remember, you know, that Tamlin and Rhysand were friends, like best friends. And Rhys is like, if Tamlin gets his powers back, he's going to be so full of wrath. He's going to be able to kill her. He is going to be able to kill her for sure. And he's like, that's why I'm helping you, because I know that if I can get Tamlin his powers back, he will be so strong that he will be able to kill Amarantha for sure. So Rhys is like, I've never actually touched you, like, inappropriately. Like, Tamlin, I don't want Tamlin to hurt me. I don't want to fight him. I just want Amarantha gone. And,
he does say, he talks about how he never touched her, but like he above her waist and only her arms. And then, because he has to be innocent in this. He's like, if Tamlin and I came to blows, innocent people will die.
Yeah.
And then he says to her, he goes, believe me, I would have liked nothing more to enjoy you. Me too, Rhysand. Me too.
But she's got the blinders on. She's got the Tamlin blinders on. And so third trial. Amarantha.
He's doing everything possible for his people, and Tamlin's over there fucking trying to get his dick wet in a closet.
It's so fucked up. It's so infuriating. And so we get the third trial, and Amarantha is on the throne, and Tamlin's beside her, and she's like, all right, any last words? And she's like, I love you, Tamlin. Finally. She finally says it at the last fucking trial. And so they bring in the people with the sacks over their heads, and there's an ash wood dagger before each of them.
When she asks her, did you ever figure out the riddle? And she doesn't respond, then Amarantha smiles and she said, pity, the answer is so lovely. I didn't realize that
she's like, the answer is love. And favorite.
I can't read.
I actually am incapable of thought, so I don't know. I'm just so consumed with Tamlin. And so Amarantha's like, you got to stab each of the Fae in the heart, and if you do, you'll win. So Feyre kills him immediately. No zero hesitation. And the Fae male is like, please don't kill me. We never find out who he was, who the first two are, do we? The woman.
I don't think so.
There's like another woman. Feyre kills her. Then the third one is actually Tamlin. And Tamlin.
But he don't got no heart, so no one gives a fuck. And
then Alice is like, hey, don't forget, there's one other part of the curse. And Tamlin's heart's made of stone, so she stabs him. Amarantha.
I wonder if it felt a little good for her to stab him.
It felt good for me rereading it. I'm like, kill him again. Just keep stabbing. Stab him a few times. Good measure. So Amarantha is like, all right, well, I'm not going to free them immediately. I only said I would free them immediately if you got the answer to the riddle. And Amarantha's like, I'm going to kill you, actually, because you didn't bargain your life. You idiot. So, again, Feyre, masterclass. Alice is like, don't make any Fae deals. And, like, if you do, you have to be so careful. And she's just an idiot. So, if Feyre, it just admits that she doesn't actually love Tamlin, and she'll live. Frankly, this is where I know that I would just be like, okay, I don't love him, and then go live my life.
With Rhysand.
With Rhys. So then Rhysand's like, Feyre, and Rhysand's like, I'm gonna kill Amarantha, and she stops him, and she's like hurting Rhys, and Feyre's like, please stop, and she's like, stop hurting Rhysand, and then Amarantha starts hurting Feyre, and Tamlin's like, stop. And then only when she's like finally at the end of like her life, she's like has an aha moment, and she's like, wait, the answer is love. So then she answers it, and then Amarantha snaps her neck. So Feyre's dead.
She said, I didn't hear you. Crack.
She said, oh, that's cute. What you gonna do about it? So, she can see through Rhysand's eyes because of the bond in their hands, supposedly. So Tamlin.
Oh, and Lucian starts pulling off his mask.
Yeah.
Because she broke it immediately.
Because she breaks the spell because because she answers the riddle. So then Lucian pulls the mask off, and then Tamlin rips her fucking throat out and stabs her through the head with a sword. So then he's like upset. He comes over, he's crying about Feyre being dead, and then this is when so this is interesting. So Rhys, the High Lord of the Autumn Court, is the first one to offer a piece of his power to resurrect Feyre. I just thought that was really interesting that Beren is the first one to do it.
Now, isn't Beren's wife is not his mate, right? Because Lucian's in love with the other guy, or Lucian's mom's in love with the other guy.
Yeah, they are mates.
So they're not mates.
Yeah, no. Lady Autumn is Helion and Lady Autumn are mates. But she was already married to Beren. So there was like nothing that could be done.
If she just picked Autumn Court first because we knew the most about Autumn Court because Lucian was from Autumn Court. And then later on she's like, oh shit, I gotta develop this whole story. Like she
Lady
didn't have...
Autumn, though, like, helps Feyre. I think that they aren't feeling indebted to her because of her helping with Lucian. Also, like, she's pretty ruthless. Feyre's pretty ruthless. So I could see Beren having respect for that.
And that she just single-handedly saved the entire continent of Prythian. So he's probably like I can see him giving a warrior's respect, I guess. Maybe that's why he's still... It wasn't like a, I feel bad for you. It's a warrior's respect more than anything. That would make sense.
So then Rhysand, like all of them, summer, winter, dawn, day, they all come over and do that. So Rhysand does that, and he says, for what she gave, we'll bestow what our predecessors have granted to few before. Which means that they have the High Lords have made people before. What does that look like? So then Tamlin tells her finally that he loves her again. Well, actually, he said it a couple times, to be fair. And he puts his hand over her heart, and she wakes up, and she's totally fine. She's also high faith. She's like, damn, I'm immortal now. And then her and Tamlin immediately have sex. They wait all of 0 seconds. And Tamlin's like, finally, I've been planning this for 20 chapters. So they bone, and she falls asleep again. And she wakes up, and Rhys is like, come here and meet me outside. She goes outside, and she's like, why? Why did you fight for me? I don't understand. And he's like, I don't want you to fight or die alone. Ever. And he's like, so how does it feel to be Fae now? And she's like, my heart is human, but I wish it wasn't. And Rhysand's like, be grateful for your human heart, Feyre. Pity those who don't feel anything at all. AKA Tamlin. And so then Rhys is like, bye. And then he's like, and then he's like, you're...
Dude, this was the best ever.
It was such a good cliffhanger.
Because we didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
Because we also didn't really understand the winnowing thing to how much they could control it. At that point, too, that we're like, oh, he just got sucked into his little blah, 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 whatever. Tamlin loves us. We're all okay. Yeah. God, we were so stupid. We were so naive in ACOTAR.
For real. So he winnows home, and then I don't know if anyone has read the Akamath fan fiction where it's from Rhysand's perspective, but this moment in the Akamath, it's so good. This moment in the Akamath, send it
to me.
Yeah, it's really good. And also Sarah J Maas approves of it. She's like, this is basically canon. So this moment from his perspective is heartbreaking. Like him landing in Morgan's arms, and she's like, you're back. And he's like, she's my mate. And you're like, oh, no. So he disappears. Feyre finds out that Amarantha has been burned So her body is gone. And
Can't find Urian.
Can't find Jurian, his eye, his little fingy bone. They're gone. And Tamlin's like, let's go home. And that is the end of the first book. That's all she wrote. And thus ends the worst book in the Agatar series. By far. It's so good, it's so bad, it's so many things, you know. She's not perfect, but she's all right. And I love it's like, if a lot of people, Akatar is their first book, and they get to Under the Mountain, and it's like chaos for 100 pages. And people are like, are all the books this way? And it's like, yeah, they really are. But there is a certain level of chaos to Akatar that I feel like exceeds most other SJM books, except for maybe like Empire of Storms kind of had the same vibes to me, whereas like the last 100 pages just went like bonkers.
Yeah, I feel like she does that with like the majority of her books.
Yeah, it just felt like even more chaotic than normal in Akatar. I mean, complete scene change. Like, we haven't been under the mountain at all, and we're just like in a totally new place, whole new cast of characters we've never met before. Rhysand's completely different. Like, it really is nuts. But at the time I read this, I hated it so much I gave it a 2 out of 5 and didn't finish the series for 6 months.
2 out of 5?
Yeah.
Damn, that's savage. That's savage for you.
That is, because I'm pretty generous. But now that I've finished the whole Massiverse, I would give Akatar a solid probably 3.5 out of 5.
3.5?
Maybe 3.8.
Yeah, I'd say 3.5 or 4 out of 5. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm going to say 4 out of 5 because what she had already had planned and putting into work in the book 1.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
Standing on its own, solid 3.75 maybe out of 5. In the scheme of the Massiverse, probably a 4.5 out of 5. Like there was so much in that book that connects here and connects here and connects there. Like there's so much to it. And there's so many theories. We don't even have enough time to talk about all the theories about Tamlin, about him possibly being an Ashriver, about his shifting abilities connecting him to the Shifter Fae of Throne of Glass, the White Stag stuff. Like there is so much there that until I read Throne of Glass in Crescent City, I couldn't fully appreciate. But now, I love it. And I guess my question to you is, do you think that Tamlin deserves redemption?
Okay, so if he does, I feel like everybody, okay, you know what? I think he does deserve redemption. If I could fucking talk.
He does reserve the dirt.
He reserves the right to zerberberderb. I think that he does deserve redemption because when he makes a deal with King of Hybern, it wasn't malicious. He was desperate. He still views Tamlin as evil. And so I think he didn't love Feyre for the same way that Tamlin did, or that Rhys does. Obviously that love's different, but I think he thought he was doing the right thing. Everything starts with good intentions. But so that's why I think that he does deserve one. Everything he did, it was not out of malicious reasons or anything like that. I think he was just doing the best he could, and then he got really down, and now he's just kind of sucks. Yeah. But we also constantly compared him to Rhys, and that wasn't fair.
Is he just depressy, and now we're you need to... I do feel like there's some... This is going to be a hot take, so get ready. There is a little bit of toxic masculinity in this community when it comes to Tamlin, of how he just needs to suck it up, and he's clearly very depressed and alone.
Right.
And like he now has no one to talk to. Like, I don't think that Lucian should have stayed, and he didn't have a choice in leaving. Unfortunately, Feyre took that away from him. But also, it's like, poor... Hi.
Next, we're going to talk about Adeline's book, The Lion King.
The Lion King.
Next on podcast. For those of you who can't see or only listening, my 2-year-old is now in here holding her book.
It's precious. Anyway, all that to say, I think that Tamlin deserves probably a little bit more grace than the community gives him, but like...
Duke.
Exactly. That's a really good point. So, yeah. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
I do think you're right. Oh, yeah, I know. It's crazy, huh? I do think you're right. I think that he doesn't deserve a lot of the hate that he's getting, but everyone wants to hate somebody in a book series. And there always has to be some kind of villain.
Yeah, it feels good to hate somebody, and I think that like once you get to the end of Akasif, it's easy to forget like Tamlin's redeeming qualities. So like rereading ACOTAR, like he is kind of a douche. But, like, you know, when he brings, like, the blue-winged fae in and he's, like, desperate to give the fairy some relief and, like, he's playing along with Rhysand's schemes under the mountain as best as he can. Like, Tamlin is just really a complex character, and I really want to know what Akamath was like from Tamlin's perspective of, like, when he made the deal with Hybern, like, what the situation really was. And I don't know that I necessarily want a book with Tamlin's perspective in it, but I would love to hear from Tamlin more from his side, because we never really got that. Like, not really. Like, even in ACOWAR, we never really got to hear from Tamlin. Like, Tamlin doesn't talk to anyone, you know? So, leave a comment below. Let us know if you think Tamlin deserved a redemption. And if so, like, what you think Tamlin's story should be next. Because, as we know, Akamath and ACOWAR don't really go in his favor. So, how do we get back to ACOTAR Tamlin? You know? Happy ACOTAR Tamlin. So, I guess that's it. We've wrapped up ACOTAR, and we're going to move on to Akamath next week. And this book, I think we'll probably do Akamath in 3 parts, probably more than likely. So we're excited to talk about it. It's like the best. It's like the peak ACOTAR is Akamath. I mean, Akasif too, but like of the original trilogy.
Akamath is the best. Yeah.
It's so
best,
good.
hands down.
So we're excited to talk about it, and let us know on social media at Wine and Wingspan Pod on TikTok and Instagram what you thought about ACOTAR. What did we miss? What are the things that we didn't talk about from the story? What are your favorite ACOTAR Massiverse theories? Let us know everything. You can DM us, you can email us, you can leave it in a comment, leave it in the comment of this video on YouTube. And yeah, I guess that wraps it up for this week. Jess has got a baby in her lap. That's why I'm droning on. if you can't see, if you're just listening. But I guess that's all, folks. Cool. For listeners, we've got confetti. All right, thanks so much for listening this week, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye. Well, hi, lords and ladies. That is it for this episode of Wine and Wingspan. Make sure you're following us on TikTok, Instagram, and everywhere you listen to podcasts at Wine and Wingspan Pod.
Have a book you'd like us to talk about or a hot take you want us to break down? Send us all your opinions to wineandwingspanpod@gmail.com. May your glass be full and your wingspans be long.